Right, where did we get to?
Big Trouble in Little China.
Let's then chat about a film that I've never quite gotten a handle on the way other people seem to. Big Trouble in Little China. Scott, what is that about?
Yes, another entry in the hallowed pantheon of films I'd swear blind I'd seen, but on watching it apparently hadn't, or if I have, I've forgotten it so entirely that I might as well not have seen it. This 1986 joint sees Carpenter fulfill an ambition to direct a martial arts film. Bully for him, if not, perhaps, for any audiences watching it. Kurt Russell's unjustly self-assured trucker, Jack Burton, blunders his way into the middle of a wushu plot, trying to help his friend, Dennis Dunn's Wang Chi, rescue his freshly emigrated green-eyed fiancée, Susie Pai's Mao Yin, from her immediate kidnapping on arrival to the country. What seems at first to be some commoner garden gang warfare and sex slavery takes a turn for the supernatural when James Hong's sorcerer, David Lo Pan, and his three mystical warrior goons show up in the middle to take Yin for their own.
So,
yes.
It's a lot like Assault on Precinct 13 in terms of economy of plot.
It turns out that David, surely the most stereotypical name for an ancient Chinese sorcerer, is under some sort of curse and must marry a green-eyed girl to break it and take over the world. Boo. Hiss. And so it's up to Jack and his allies to stop him, including the magician/tour bus driver Egg Shen, played by Victor Wong, lawyer/love interest Gracie Law, played by Kim Cattrall, and what's the opposite of intrepid? Trepid. That'll do. Trepid journalist Margot, played by Kate Burton. Cue a bunch of bluffing, chasing, pratfalling, capturing and escaping with the odd fight scene thrown in to make sure you're paying attention, which, to be honest, you shouldn't. Most of James Liu's fight choreography is perhaps the most successful element here, with Carpenter deserving some credit for capturing it competently for a first-timer. However, most wushu films tend not to feature automatic weaponry. For much the reason on display here, it clashes really badly with the fantasy kung fu and leaves the whole film looking silly. Now, I suppose silly is very much what Big Trouble is going for, but in my opinion it's not quite the right kind of silly. I'm not sure I can get my head around a script that's clearly a kid's action adventure but sets part of it in a brothel. This this was surprisingly well received critically on release before bombing at the box office and then slowly becoming a cult classic. It would seem that most of the reasons it is now liked are much the same reasons I really don't like it, so take the rest of this for what you will. Kurt Russell's just unlikable. I know what they're going for. I mean, Jack thinks he's the hero, but he's actually the comic sidekick. But I'm not sure either the script or Russell was let in on the plan. But the quick-fire dialogue between him and, well, everyone, but Kim Cattrall in particular, aims for some sort of 30s-era charm like a William Powell and Myrna Loy revival, but instead evokes a plank of wood and a less charismatic plank of wood. The jokes
That's
fall...
not just me.
The jokes fall flat more often than not, and the hybrid Indiana Jones/Homer Simpson character they've made is just annoying. I'd be much happier if he was just gone from the thing entirely and Dennis Dunn could handle things sans guns, but, well, by that point, you might as well go and watch a Chinese ghost story. James Hong's dependable enough as the bad guy, but his aura's rather hobbled by others telling us what his deal is through obnoxiously clunky dialogue, rather than, have him do much of anything. So perhaps I'm expecting too much from a throwaway 80s action outing, but then all I was expecting was something vaguely enjoyable, so more fool me, I suppose. Perhaps an element of nostalgia helps this, the way I'll admit that certain other Carpenter works do for me, and we'll get onto the 11 in a minute. But sadly, I got very little from this. Oh, and if this were a modern film, I'd accuse it of cultural appropriation, but then, seeing as it does appear to get its understanding of Chinese culture from a fortune cookie, perhaps that's not going to hold a lot of water. I read, bafflingly, that Carpenter did remove certain aspects of the script before shooting it in case it offended Chinese Americans, and if that's the case, I dread to think what that was, given what's been left in here. I mean, did it have Mickey, Rooney and Yellowface again? I mean, really the best course of editing what's left would be Control-A, delete.
Yeah, this film,
You can say what you want about the film, but listen, I can assure you it's not offensive towards Chinese people. I took those bits out. Aye, all right, John.
I left to know
take your meds.
You left in the bits where there's lots of Japanese actors in there too, right? Because all Asians are the same, no?
What was the bit he cut out? Did Jack Burton just piss on a giant map of China or something?
There'll be that scene where Kurt Russell was blending in the brothel by putting his fingers on the side of his eyes. He's pulling his eyelids shut. That's about the only thing the film didn't have.
Sorry, man. Oh my God. How times have changed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. This is the second of the films that we watched for this podcast, but I couldn't bring myself to hate it. It was more just, okay, I suppose that I have seen that now. But yes, it's so I wasn't absolutely bored by it. But yeah, this is a film that I had never seen until last week. It's a film that
Oh wow.
I pretty much had known the name of at some point, and that was it. I basically found out, I really came to the realisation it was a John Carpenter film last week also, when we were discussing what to cover for this. And yeah, but think about it, I'm aware now that it does have like something of a cult appreciation, and again, like, so I'm left wondering why. There's that website, Last Exit to Nowhere, who's done some other John Carpenter stuff. I've got one of their Cable 54 They Live t-shirts, in fact, and I know that they were selling Pork Chop Express t-shirts, and only end of last week have I found out what that was a reference to. So oblivious was I to this film. I kind of wish that was still the same. But again, I don't hate it. It's more just, it's not really interesting.
It's a series of flashing images on a screen.
Yeah, exactly.
I last saw this like very random images. It's like, oh look, a man's face expanding to the size of a hot air balloon. I watched this, firmly sat down with the intention of giving this a fair hearing about 3 years ago now. And I think it was around about the time Special Edition came out on, it finally got sort of a Blu-ray release or whatever. I can't remember if it was a remaster or not. It's largely irrelevant, as is the film. And I think I had sat down at various points when I was a bit younger and watched this. There was a period where it seemed to be shown on ITV on television over here, like every third week or something. And I remember a couple of times trying, and never quite actually having the opportunity to watch all of it, and having been mildly baffled by it then. But then I think when I first moved away from home back in 2004, I came down, and the group of friends that I made down here were all very much united by Big Trouble in Little China. And at some point a few years ago, I made the decision to actually, I need to get on board with this and actually now appreciate what is clearly there to be appreciated, and which I just have not picked up on. And I was doing a big pile of ironing, and man, I made a really good job of that big pile of ironing because it was impossible to take any kind of interest in the film on the television in front of me while I was doing the ironing. I was baffled. I remain baffled to this day by the esteem or the regard with which so many people seem to hold this film. I don't find any of the bits they find funny. I don't find any of the dialogue particularly quotable in the way that so many people seem to find it. Southern reflexes.
I can't remember a single bit of dialogue.
Honest to God,
Not one line.
I just don't get it. It's one of those films that makes me stop and think, am I that far out of sync with popular opinion on media in general? I don't think I am, but I don't know. I've just never understood the appeal of this. I think even at a very early age, I was aware of how, like, terminally racist so much of this film actually is. And it certainly doesn't play very well now in more enlightened times 30 years down the line. What I will say for it is this: I think it's one of Drew Struzan's nicest pieces of cover artwork. And that's that.
Yeah, so watching this, going into it, I didn't have any good grasp on what sort of film it was meant to be. I mean, really, my knowledge of this was almost impressively minimal.
Yeah, can you tell us now what type of film it's supposed to be, Drew?
I'll get back to you. Because I'm watching it and I'm thinking, is this a parody? Or is it just bad? Well, it could have been a bad parody, which is what I think it was. But I'm watching, I'm like, there's these horribly truly awful. It's the one bit of the film that I could generally, most of it just like, okay, it's there, but the bits of the film that I really, really disliked were the really, really almost impossibly, inconceivably bad exposition scenes.
Yeah.
Where there's a whole scenes of people talking to each other in exposition. And I'm like, is this deliberate? Is this a parody, or is it just deliberately this bad? And because there's a scene, it's Kim Cattrall's character comes into the restaurant and they're talking about what they're going to do, and then they're saying, it falls a little after it too, I am this person, and I am this person, we're going to do to this thing, but you can't do that thing, you must do this thing to do that thing. And it's the most terribly written scene I've possibly ever seen. And
there's just so much going on.
Yeah, but is this bad? Is it a parody of this kind of expositionary dialogue or not? And then it's not aided by the fact that Kim Cattrall is particularly appalling in this film. Her acting is so awful, and I'm then again thinking, is this a parody? And then if it is her acting deliberately bad? And then part of me is thinking, yeah, well, it doesn't matter, even if it's deliberately bad acting, it's still bad acting. It's not any fun. Yeah, the whole film is a mess, and I'm struggling to find any reason why people would really grab onto this.
There is just an overwhelming amount of stuff going on. It's one of those films where they have literally thrown everything at the wall to see what sticks, but they didn't actually start a camera up until everything fell off the wall and landed on the floor. Because nothing sticks. Yeah. I don't get it at all. It seems to be informed by that sort of Sunday matinee movie thing that inspired Spielberg to Indiana Jones, but it feels like it's going for that sort of vibe, but in a more fantastical setting. It doesn't work.
No. I mean, there are almost bits too that almost worked for me, and I thought, like, I thought it was going to be a really good running gag through the film. It was with the names of all the Chinese hells. And they start off with that because there's the hell of the oily dragon, and the hell where they put burning oil on you, and then the hell of the upside down fisherman, or whatever it was. And that really tickled me, and I thought, it's just they're going to carry on like getting more ridiculous names, and I'd have been on board with that. I'd have found that genuinely funny. And then it's like, no, they only do it another couple of times and it's really mundane. Oh, okay, so they couldn't even follow that through.
Yeah, there's one more thing that could have been stripped out of this to make it slightly more coherent.
Scottish Rite, but the complete mishmash of gunplay and wushu doesn't work.
No,
not at all.
No, never the twain shall meet. But look how much we've ended up talking about it.